Good morning, Mr. Hopkins.
Good morning.
I'm going to go back to your first interactions with Mr. Crumbley's son. I'm not going to use his name, so if for some reason the way that I'm referring to his son confuses you, just let me know. If we're using too many he's. Does that make sense?
Okay, I will do that.
Thank you. So your first interactions with Mr. Crumbley's son were in the fall of 2020.
Well, fall of 2020. No, it would have been spring of 2021.
Okay. So it would have been before the 2021 school year.
Yes.
And that was for planning his class schedule, is that correct?
That would have been the main reason that we would have met with every freshman. And then I had that email that was displayed earlier from his English teacher.
The May of 2021 email.
Yes.
And after that May of 2021 email, you didn't specifically recall having a meeting with Mr. Crumbley's son.
I don't have memory of that meeting, no.
In fact, you went back and reviewed your records and determined that there appears to have been a phone call. That you called him down to your office?
I called into his class and called him down to my office.
Okay. But you don't remember ever meeting with him?
I don't remember the meeting.
You did not contact Mr. Crumbley or his wife after that May of 2021 email?
That is correct.
So other than discussing Mr. Crumbley's son's class schedule with him and then maybe meeting with him in May of 2021 about that email, you don't recall any additional interactions with Mr. Crumbley's son before November 10th of 2021?
That is correct.
In September of 2021, you received another email from a teacher which was displayed, I believe it was Exhibit 199, which would be an email from a teacher talking about a poem. Am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, that he had a class assignment of writing an autobiography poem.
And he had said to that teacher he'd made some concerning statements in that poem.
Yeah, so if I can give a little more context to this was actually a Spanish class, so the poem wouldn't have even been in English.
Okay. So he used words in Spanish?
That is my understanding after talking to the teacher.
And the Spanish teacher had concerns about the Spanish words that he used?
That is my understanding based on the email. I also followed up with the teacher and gained further context about it.
Right, and as a result of gaining further context, you were not concerned?
Because the teacher lowered the level of concern for me, yes.
So even though your response that you were going to catch up with Mr. Crumbley's son, even though that's in the email, you didn't actually meet with him because you had the conversation with the teacher?
That is correct.
Again, you didn't notify James Crumbley or his wife about the teacher's concern in September of 2021?
No, I did not.
And you didn't forward them the email?
No.
And that was because in your mind, based on the information that you had, there was nothing to be concerned about?
Well, I just gained further context from the teacher and made the decision based off of that information.
And had no concerns?
I think that you're putting those words in to make it a little more extreme, but what I would say is I gained context and made a decision based off of that.
And if you had been concerned, if you had sufficient concern, you would have reached out to Mr. Crumbley or his wife?
If it had raised the level of concern where I felt I needed to, I would have, yes.
So then on November 10th of 2021, you received another email from a different teacher?
From the same teacher.
Oh, thank you for correcting me. It was the same teacher. She asked you to check in with Mr. Crumbley's son on November 10th.
She said he might need to speak with you.
And she said that she believed he was having a hard time?
She said he's having a rough time right now. He might need to speak with you.
The next day, you responded and indicated that you would check in with him.
Later that evening, after the school day was over, I responded, I believe.
So you obviously couldn't have met with him that day because the school day was over, correct?
She sent the email at the end of the school day, and I responded approximately 2 hours after the end of the school day.
So you couldn't have met with him that day because the school day was over. Is that fair?
He would not have been there.
So you would have met with him the next day?
Yes.
And do you believe that you did meet with him on November 11th?
Yes.
You spoke with him in the hallway?
Yes, I caught him in between classes.
You simply told him that you were available if he needed to talk?
Yes.
There was no further discussion with him at that time?
No, because the way the email was written was that he might need to speak with you. So I just wanted to let him know that there was an opening if he wanted to speak with you.
And having a rough time, like the teacher indicated in her email on November 10th, having a rough time isn't necessarily something that raises red flags. Is that fair?
I didn't have any other context as to what was going on, and I just wanted to offer a chance for the student to speak if he needed to do so.
And his response, if you recall, was something along the lines of, okay, thanks, okay. And I'm not asking you to quote him because I don't know if you remember, but it was not an uncommon response. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it was a normal response given the situation.
You did not email James Crumbley or his wife about that November 10th email, correct?
I did not email them, no.
Or the November 11th brief. You did not forward that email to Mr. Crumbley or his wife.
I did not.
So then the next interaction that you had with Mr. Crumbley's son was on November 29th of 2021, and that was a Monday, if you recall?
Yes, that would have been a Monday.
You were forwarded another email that was sent to Nicholas Ejak and Pamela Fine. Is that correct?
Yes, I was.
And this third email, this is the third email you've received from a teacher since this school year began, if you recall.
Yes, it would have been.
September of 21, November 10th of 2021, and now November 29th of 2021. The email advised that Mr. Crumbley's son was looking at bullets on his phone at the end of class.
Could I see the email?
Yes. Exhibit 201.
This is just the forward, so it doesn't have the actual email in it.
You were advised that that was the concern, was that Mr. Crumbley's son was looking at bullets on his phone.
I believe that to be true, but this email you have on the screen isn't the one that says that.
Correct. The email doesn't say it, but you were aware that that's why the teacher was concerned,
Could
and
I
that's why
see
the
that
teacher was
email?
emailing. I don't know if that's in the email.
That email was displayed earlier, I think. It was sent to Mr. Ejak and Ms. Fine.
That was the one.
It's at
Unless
the bottom.
it's... Oh, there we
Yeah,
go.
it's
There we go. Thank you.
Yes, so this is the email I was forwarded. And it just was at the end of the hour. The teacher didn't get a chance to really find out what was going on, but it just glanced at it and had seen that.
And I'll leave that up in case you need to look at it.
Thank you.
So you were aware that on November 29th of 2021, at the time you received this forwarded email, that Mr. Crumbley's son was looking at bullets on his phone in class.
Yes, after reading this email, I was aware.
At some point, well, let me go in order. Shortly after this email, you then met with Mr. Crumbley's son and Pamela Fine.
Yes.
And you met in your office or Ms. Fine's office?
It was in Ms. Fine's office.
And you were there just as support, but Ms. Fine did most of the talking. Is that fair?
Yes, I would say that was fair.
And Ms. Fine talked to Mr. Crumbley's son about looking at bullets on his phone?
She did. She actually asked him to describe why would a teacher be contacting me right now. And the student was forthcoming in what had happened in class.
He was forthcoming. He was honest, to your knowledge,
To
right?
our knowledge, he shared what we had in the email.
He told you what class he was in looking at bullets. He said he was looking at bullets, and he even explained why he was looking at bullets, if you recall.
He said that he and Mom had been at the shooting range over the weekend, and he was researching what they had done.
And if you recall, Ms. Fine acknowledged that what Mr. Crumbley's son was doing may not have been appropriate, but there really didn't seem a lot of concern. Would you agree with that?
Well, the concern was that it wasn't appropriate, and that the concern was then expressed by placing a phone call home.
So the concern was the appropriateness of the behavior in class.
Yes.
And at that point, a voicemail was left for Jennifer Crumbley.
Yes.